What if the Garden of Eden holds secrets far older and darker than we've been told? The Forbidden Myths of Eden takes you beyond the Sunday school version into a realm of ancient symbols, hidden truths, and stories erased by time. From the serpent's true identity to the mysterious tree of knowledge, Eden may not be what it seems. Were other beings there before Adam and Eve? Was paradise ever truly lost, or was it taken? Join us as we uncover the forbidden myths buried beneath the surface of Genesis and rediscover the untold story of humanity's mysterious beginning. The story of the Garden of Eden is among the most iconic and enduring narratives in religious history. For billions of people, it represents the origin of humanity, the fall from grace, and the beginning of the human struggle between good and evil. Yet, beneath the familiar verses of Genesis lies a world of suppressed legends, hidden meanings, and ancient symbols. These are the forbidden myths of Eden, fragments of older traditions that survived in whispers, apocryphal texts, mystical writings, and oral lore. They challenge the official version, not to destroy faith, but to deepen and expand it. What if Eden was never just a paradise? What if it was a battleground of divine rebellion, a crossroads of ancient beings, and the site of a spiritual drama far older than Adam and Eve? In this exploration, we peel back the layers of the Eden myth to reveal the stories that were silenced, forgotten, or forbidden. 1. Before Eden, the shadow of earlier worlds. The book of Genesis opens with the creation of the world, but curiously, it doesn't explain where God came from, nor does it account for the presence of chaos before creation. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. In Jewish mystical texts like the Kabbalah and apocalyptic writings like the Book of Enoch, we find suggestions of earlier worlds, failed creations, shattered vessels, and beings that predated humanity. Some rabbinic traditions speak of pre-Adamic races, creatures or humans created before Adam who were wiped out. In the Zohar, a foundational Kabbalistic work, it's even implied that multiple worlds were created and destroyed before ours. These ancient beings are said to haunt the mythic memory of Eden, spirits of a forgotten epoch whose existence was erased when Adam was formed. Were these earlier creations flawed attempts at humanity? Or were they something else entirely, beings not made in the image of God, but in the image of the gods? 2. The serpent, tempter or truth-teller. Perhaps the most famous character in the Eden story is the serpent. Traditionally seen as Satan in disguise, he tempts Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, leading to the fall of humanity. But in older mythologies, and even within some strands of early Christian thought, the serpent was viewed quite differently. In Gnostic texts such as the Apocryphon of John and the Gospel of Philip, the serpent is not evil, but a liberator. He gives humanity knowledge that the false creator God, the demiurge, wanted to keep hidden. In this view, the serpent represents wisdom, consciousness, and the divine spark trapped in flesh. Eve is not the first sinner, but the first seeker of truth. Even the symbol of the serpent itself has ancient roots. In Mesopotamian mythology, serpents often represent healing, power, and eternal life. The Sumerian god Enki, a god of wisdom, is associated with serpents and life-giving water. Could the biblical serpent be a distorted memory of one of these older deities? If so, then the Eden story may not be about rebellion, but about awakening. 3. The tree of knowledge, divine wisdom or forbidden power. Why would God place a tree of knowledge, of good and evil, at the center of paradise, and then forbid humans from accessing it? Some scholars and mystics have long questioned the logic behind this test. The tree of knowledge may represent more than moral awareness. In mystical traditions, it's often a symbol of divine wisdom, spiritual enlightenment, and the very structure of creation itself. In the Kabbalistic tree of life, knowledge is not sin, It is the path to reunion with the divine. In Gnostic cosmology, the knowledge Greek, gnosis, Eve gains is what allows her and Adam to see through the illusion of the world and begin their journey back to the divine source. From this perspective, eating from the tree wasn't a transgression. It was a transformation. Could it be that the real fall was not into sin, but into awareness? For Lilith, the first woman forgotten. Few figures are more controversial in the hidden myths of Eden than Lilith, the woman who was said to come before Eve. Though she doesn't appear in the standard Genesis account, Lilith emerges in Jewish folklore, particularly in the alphabet of Ben Sira, as Adam's first wife, created at the same time and from the same earth. Unlike Eve, Lilith refused to be subservient. She left Adam and fled Eden, uttering the ineffable name of God and aligning herself with the forces of the wild. In later legends, she became a demoness, a child snatcher, and a seductress. But in feminist and mystical reinterpretations, Lilith is seen as a symbol of independence, divine feminine power, and the price of nonconformity. Was Lilith removed from the Genesis story because her presence threatened the patriarchal order? Did she represent a deeper truth about the duality within humanity, our capacity for both reason and wildness, order and freedom? If Lilith was the first to rebel, then perhaps Eden was never a peaceful paradise, but a contested space of competing truths. 5. The cherubim and the flaming sword, guardians of lost knowledge. After Adam and Eve are expelled from Eden, God places cherubim and a flaming sword to guard the entrance to the tree of life. But who are these cherubim? Far from being chubby angels, cherubim in ancient Near Eastern traditions were hybrid creatures, part human, part animal, who guarded the thrones of gods and sacred spaces. They were beings of immense power, knowledge, and mystery. In the book of Ezekiel, they appear as wheels within wheels, covered in eyes, transporting the glory of God. In Babylonian art, similar beings, Lamassu, stood at temple gates. The cherubim in Eden may be remnants of these guardian spirits, suggesting that Eden itself was not a garden, but a temple, a cosmic sanctuary. The flaming sword ever turning may symbolize a barrier not just of fire, but of time, dimension, or consciousness. It hints that returning to Eden is not a matter of location, but of transformation. 6. Eden as cosmic center, a myth found everywhere. The idea of a paradise lost is not unique to the Bible. Nearly every ancient culture has its own version of a primeval garden, a world tree, or a place of origins. The Sumerians had Dilmun, a pure land where no sickness or death existed. The Persians spoke of Aranbej, the first paradise before corruption. In Hinduism, the sacred Mount Meru is the center of the world and home to divine beings. Mayan and Aztec myths describe primordial gardens where gods created and tested humans. These echoes suggest that Eden is not merely a Hebrew tale. It is part of a global memory. But the fact that it appears in so many forms also suggests that the biblical Eden may have suppressed older versions, reconfiguring them to suit a particular theological narrative. What was lost in that transformation? 7. The hidden geography of Eden. Genesis says Eden had a river that split into 4, Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates, hinting at a real-world location. Some scholars place Eden in Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. Others suggest Africa, the Nile Basin, or even symbolic geography. But more esoteric traditions claim Eden exists on a different plane, between realms, or in a higher dimension. The Book of Jubilees describes Eden as being on a holy mountain, inaccessible to ordinary humans. Ethiopian texts, like the Kebra Nagast, claim the Ark of the Covenant was taken from Eden itself. Could Eden be a lost realm, half physical, half spiritual, that once touched earth but now lies hidden beyond the veil? 8. Why were these myths forbidden? Throughout history, stories like those of Lilith, the Gnostic serpent, and pre-Adamic beings were condemned as heresy. But why? The answer may lie in the consolidation of religious power. The early church and rabbinic authorities sought a unified narrative. One God, one creation, one fall, one salvation. The diversity of myth was seen as dangerous, confusing, and destabilizing. But myths are not lies, they are symbolic truths. And when they're forbidden, it's often because they threaten control. The forbidden myths of Eden point to a universe filled with layers, complexities, and paradoxes. They invite us to move beyond literalism and into wonder. They remind us that the search for truth is never finished, and that paradise, once lost, may be waiting to be found again. The story of Eden is not just a tale of beginnings. It is a mythic mirror, reflecting both the divine and the human, the eternal and the temporal, the sacred and the suppressed. Over time, the Garden of Eden has come to symbolize paradise lost, innocence shattered, and obedience broken. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the version we know is just one layer, cleaned, shaped, and canonized, while deeper, more ancient meanings still pulse beneath the surface? This is the heart of reclaiming the mystery, the idea that the forbidden myths of Eden don't oppose the Genesis story. They expand it. They offer not rebellion against God, but a restoration of forgotten truths. They invite us to see Eden not just as a historical or theological setting, but as a living, breathing symbol of spiritual potential, cosmic memory, and human awakening. Let's journey through the hidden corridors of Eden, not to dismiss the sacred text, but to illuminate it, revealing a richer, more mystical vision of our origins. 1. Eden as metaphor, not map. For centuries, theologians, archaeologists, and seekers have tried to locate Eden on a literal map, somewhere between the Tigris and Euphrates, or deep in Africa, or under Antarctic ice. But what if Eden was never meant to be found on Earth? What if its geography is symbolic, a representation of a state of consciousness, not coordinates? In mystical traditions, such as Kabbalah, Sufism, and Christian mysticism, Eden is often understood as the soul's original harmony with the divine. It is the place before division, before ego, before shame, before separation. It is the primordial unity that humanity longs to return to. Reclaiming the mystery means recognizing that Eden isn't just where we came from. It's also what we carry inside us. The fall isn't just about an ancient couple breaking a rule. It's about the human condition, our journey from oneness to fragmentation, and our longing for return. 2. Knowledge is not sin, it's sacred. The central drama of the Eden story is the eating of the fruit from the tree of knowledge. Traditionally, this act is seen as disobedience, a sin that brought death and exile. But is knowledge truly a sin? In ancient mystical traditions, Jewish, Christian, and Gnostic alike, knowledge, gnosis, is sacred. It is the flame that illuminates the soul, the ladder that leads back to God. In fact, in Proverbs 8, wisdom is personified as a divine feminine presence who was with God at the beginning of creation. I was beside him like a master workman, rejoicing in his inhabited world. Could it be that the tree of knowledge wasn't a trap, but a test, or even a gift? Could it be that God didn't want blind obedience, but conscious partnership? Gnostic texts, especially the Gospel of Philip and the Apocryphon of John, suggest that the God who forbade knowledge was not the true God at all, but a lesser being, an arrogant creator who feared human awakening. In these accounts, the serpent becomes not a devil, but a revealer. Eve becomes not a temptress, but the first seeker. Whether one agrees with these views or not, they challenge us to ask, what kind of knowledge threatens power? And why is it so often called forbidden? 3. The divine is not a single voice. Genesis presents a singular God creating the world in structured sequence. But even within the text, hints of plurality emerge. Let us make man in our image. Who is this us? Some say it refers to the divine council, a heavenly host of beings who helped shape creation. Others believe it reflects traces of older polytheistic or henotheistic traditions, woven into the emerging monotheism of ancient Israel. Either way, it suggests that the divine is more complex than a single voice. Throughout ancient Near Eastern texts, including Sumerian, Babylonian, Egyptian, and Canaanite myths, we find councils of gods, divine twins, cosmic couples, and creator beings working in harmony or tension. The Bible itself preserves fragments of this worldview, even as it emphasizes the oneness of God. Reclaiming the mystery means acknowledging that God may not speak in one tone or image. The divine voice echoes in wind and fire, serpent and silence, cloud and breath. It is heard in dreams and visions, in thunder and stillness. To reduce it to a single form may offer control, but it also flattens the infinite. For the feminine was erased, not absent. The Genesis story seems simple. Adam is made, then Eve is made from him. She is called helper, and becomes the one who falls first. But older traditions and hidden texts suggest another story, a forgotten divine feminine. Lilith, for instance, is a shadowy figure from Jewish folklore. She was said to be Adam's first wife, created equal to him from the same earth. When she refused to submit, she was cast out and replaced. In later demonology, she became a feared succubus. But in mystical traditions, she represents the exiled feminine, powerful, sensual, intuitive, and free. The biblical Eve, too, has layers. Her name means life. In some Gnostic texts, she is paired with a higher counterpart, Sophia, the feminine wisdom of God, who descends into creation to help awaken the human soul. The forbidden myths restore balance. They remind us that the divine is not only Father, but also Mother, not only Logos, but also Sophia. By reclaiming the feminine voice in Eden, we reclaim half of our spiritual heritage. 5. The serpent as symbol, not Satan. No figure is more controversial in Eden than the serpent. For many, it represents Satan, the enemy of God. But the Hebrew text never identifies it as such. It is described simply as more cunning than any other beast. Serpents in ancient myth are deeply symbolic. In Egypt, the cobra was a royal symbol of protection and divine authority. In Sumer, the god Enki, associated with wisdom and life, was linked to the serpent. In Hinduism, the coiled serpent Kundalini represents spiritual energy at the base of the spine, which rises to awaken enlightenment. In Eden, the serpent speaks. It offers knowledge. It does not lie. Its promise that the humans will know good and evil is fulfilled. If we strip away the later demonization, we find a more ancient archetype, the serpent as the awakener, the challenger, the one who opens a path. Reclaiming the mystery means seeing beyond good versus evil dualism. The serpent may not be good, but it may be necessary. Transformation always comes with discomfort, and truth often comes from unexpected voices. 6. Exile is not the end, it's the beginning. Adam and Eve are cast out of Eden. Cherubim guard the way back. A flaming sword turns every direction. It feels like a punishment, and perhaps it is. But it's also a journey. In mythic language, exile often marks the beginning of spiritual growth. Leaving Eden is like leaving the womb, painful, disorienting, but necessary for maturity. In mystical readings, the expulsion is not about wrath, it's about evolution. Some traditions speak of return. In Kabbalah, the soul descends through layers of reality, and then ascends back to its source through spiritual practice. In Gnostic myth, the soul awakens to its divine origin and begins the path home. Even the guarded gates of Eden hint at mystery. The cherubim are not mere bouncers, they are cosmic beings. The flaming sword may be symbolic of purification. Only those transformed can re-enter. Reclaiming the mystery means accepting that the fall was not failure. It was a necessary descent. The journey through pain, death, and forgetting is the price of freedom. And the way back is not blocked, it's hidden in plain sight. 7. Why these myths were forbidden. If these ideas were once known, why were they erased? The answer lies in control. As religious institutions solidified, they sought unity, clarity, and authority. Complexity threatened power. Mysticism was dangerous. Female divinity was scandalous. Serpents were feared. So stories were edited, symbols recast, voices silenced. But myths don't die. They hide. They whisper through apocryphal gospels, echo in the Zohar, shimmer in Sufi poetry, linger in ancient rites. They wait, not to contradict Scripture, but to complete it. The forbidden myths were not lies. They were locked doors. And now, slowly, we are finding the keys. 8. Reclaiming the mystery today. To reclaim the mystery of Eden is not to abandon faith. It is to embrace a deeper, wider, more honest spirituality. One that welcomes questions. One that honors symbol. One that listens to the voices beneath the text. It means reading Genesis not just as history, but as myth, true myth. Myth that reveals timeless truths, not literal facts. Myth that teaches through symbol and paradox. Myth that invites you not just to believe, but to become. You are Adam. You are Eve. You are Lilith. You are the serpent, the seeker, the wanderer, the dreamer. And Eden is not behind you. It is ahead. The garden within. In the end, the forbidden myths don't tell us to reject the Garden of Eden. They ask us to see it more clearly, not as a place we were punished from, but a state we are called to awaken to. Not as a memory of failure, but a blueprint for return. Eden is mystery. Reclaim it. The tree is knowledge. Seek it. The serpent is wisdom. Listen. The journey is exile. Walk it. The sword is flame. Pass through. And the divine? The divine is not a single voice. It is a symphony. Let it sing again. The Garden of Eden is more than a tale of innocence lost. It's a portal into ancient truths long buried. As we've seen, the forbidden myths whisper of beings, knowledge, and powers that challenge the official story. But the real question is, why were these myths hidden in the first place? If you found this journey eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What secrets do you think still lie beneath Eden soil? Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and remember, truth often hides where we're told not to look.